Kaiser Radio.
Covering Guyana from coast to coast.
Demerara and Essequibo 99.1 FM.
Berbice 99.5 FM. Kaiser Radio.
COVID-19 tips sponsored by Dex Soap. 1. Practice social distancing. 2. Wear your mask when leaving the house. 3. Wash your hands regularly for 20 seconds using our Dex Soap. 4. Cover your nose and mouth with a disposable tissue or flex elbow when you cough or sneeze. Choose Dex Soap for that extra cleanliness. Dex Soap is affordable and available nationwide.
Time check for you, 13 hours 30 on this bright afternoon in Georgetown. I hope you're having a wonderful day so far, and it is time for COVID-19 and Elections Watch right here on Kaiser Radio 99.1 FM and 99.5 FM. Remember, you can join us at www.kaisernews.online.com/radio/MyTuner app and the Radio Garden app. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel at Kaiser Radio and watch us live on our Facebook page at Kaiser Radio. This afternoon at the helm of the program, as usual, senior journalist of Kaiser News, Mr. Leonard Gildarie, and his co-host, Dr. Yog Mahadeo. Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Good afternoon, boys in the studio. I want to say a pleasant day to you. I think they're trying to kill me, Yoga. It's the beginning of a new day, and it has been something that I've been watching them for a little while. About a few moments back, we had Raj all the way from India, who's been part of our team, and he's singing Guyana by Poonam Singh. So I want to say good day to Raj, always a very happy personality. And a good day to all our people right across the nation. I want to say good day to everybody, especially those joining us from overseas. Let us get right down into it. Before that, let me say a good day to my co-host, Dr. Yog Mahadeo. How are you, sir?
Very well, thank you, given the circumstances. Of course, wished it could be better, but yet another delay, but we'll get to it. But
yes,
thank you, and I'm glad that Raj and Kevin and Joshua and everybody there realize that you do owe them big time.
I'm not sure what you mean by me owe them. What do you mean by that?
Well, I'll have to discuss with Kev, but I'm sure that Kevin and Raj, some of the food and some of the drinks that he's been talking about, he needs to stump up and ensure that he does a once weekly share with you guys.
Yes, very much so. Yog, before we get into it, somebody asked the question, what inspired you to use the good, the bad, the ugly theme song as your phone ring? Is there a story behind that?
Well, yes, it's a story, and ever since I've had my first cell phone many years ago, that has been my ringtone forever. Anybody who knows me from way back when knows that has been my ringtone, and it's always the good. You decide who you are to call.
Absolutely. So we get right down into business right away. A good day to all. I want to say that it's been pretty rainy, raining cats and dogs. I couldn't been able to see at some point in time along these banks because of how heavy it was. We understand they were fogged this morning in some parts of the country on the East Coast, on these banks and so on. Seemed to be a phenomenon that has been around for a little while. In any case, with regards to elections, it was widely anticipated that there was going to be a meeting today at 1:30. That meeting has been postponed. That is because the three most important persons in the country now are three men, not necessarily be known as the three wise men, but three men of the Guyana Elections Commission, Charles Corbin, Vincent Alexander, Desmond Trotman. They wanted some more time to study that decision that was handed down by the CCJ yesterday. It was endorsed unanimously, that decision that came out and was read by Justice Sanders. The summary of it, that is, the three men, they wanted to have a study of it today. And we're going to tell you some developments from that. But apparently they spoke to reporters in front of GCOM this morning, and they would have indicated that they need some time to study that report. So, Yog, let's get right into it. What is it that needs to be studied at the moment, and why is it that GCOM does not have a meeting today?
It boggles the mind, Leonard. I must say that under any other circumstance, the one might have had to assess the three commissioners' request, whether it is reasonable or unreasonable. You would recall, I believe, Alexander's statement as of yesterday. He alluded to something along the lines of, it is what the chairman herself would have put into practice in the past. And I think he was alluding to, if you recall, the Chief Justice acting's her ruling when Madame Claudette Singh says she needs a copy and she needs to study that ruling. And I think what Alexander them has done is play that exact game. Leonard, one would think that the three commissioners, the six commissioners, and of which three seems to be at this stage holding this country at ransom once again. One would think that these three commissioners would have thought this country is awaiting. Everybody's on intention. Everybody's awaiting for something to happen. They have all night, all of yesterday evening. It is not a 1,000-page decision. They had all the time in the world, and these are people with legal and other background to study, to read, and to be prepared for today's exam. I said exam, to be prepared for today's meeting. But it would seem like they have exhibited more of a care for what the political instructions would be, rather than to read the report and come ready for the meeting today. I rather believe it is that the three commissioners are waiting. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, the commissioners are not independent. They represent a political party. And therefore, it goes by logic that they will await a decision and a pointer as to what direction they should take from the PNC. They have been appointed by PNC and have no AFC, and so they are waiting for that. Leonard, I believe that is it. Unfortunately, it is what it is, and unfortunately, I don't know. The only thing left now, do we as a citizen have to now go beg the Chief Justice or beg the court to say, please, can you ask or can the court request the commission to act with some degree of alacrity given the state of the country? It is a disgrace, I must say. And now they're saying tomorrow, and we don't know if the tomorrow means tomorrow or it means tomorrow, the 10th of July, Friday, the 10th of July. Because, you know, Leonard, we will continue to discuss what are the likelihood, possibility, what are the things that can happen tomorrow. But I don't know. If they could not finish reading that report from 4 to 5 to 6 to 7 to 8 to 9 to 10, given 10 p.m. is a reasonable time to retire, and then you had all day today, 7 to 8 to 9 to 10 to 11 to 12 to 1, that's what? That's 18 hours or more? Or you look at the entire night, at least they have 8 hours, Leonard, of daytime, of uptime study. They could have met. It is not unreasonable for this country to believe they could have met. But I don't believe it has to do anything with reading the order. It has to do with political directive.
So here is how one way that you could conclude it is that I was looking at a post, and maybe this has some explanation for it, because Vincent Alexander is involved in this post. It was posted like about an hour back. Ruel Johnson happened to be one of my colleagues. He says in a Facebook post, there was nothing about the decision to study. I believe that the chair erred in postponing the meeting to allow the coalition commissioners to study the report and study in inverted commas. Tomorrow's meeting should be called at the earliest time tomorrow, 8 a.m., for the submission of the CEO's report in keeping with the recount. If it is that the government commissioners find an excuse not to turn up and therefore deny a quorum, then the valid report should be accepted and the meeting should be scheduled for Saturday, wherein the secondary quorum rules apply. There's no legal, valid reason that a declaration should go past this weekend, right? And in that post, Yog, Vincent Alexander went on and he made two posts. I think he was objecting to aspersions being cast. He responded to somebody, all of you are bitching in and out of ignorance, Vincent Alexander, Commissioner. There's another one. He's responding to Royal Johnson now. You seem to think that you're the bastion of all wisdom. Who are you to determine whether commissioners need to study a document that was delivered at approximately 12:30 today? He's saying that he got it at 12:30 today. Do you know for a fact that a meeting was summoned today? It is time for you to stop all this fallacious nonsense and go write a fiction. I hear silence from you, Yog Mahadeo.
Oh, well, I didn't know you were allowing me to talk here, because what can one say? I mean, Vincent Alexander certainly has his own way with words. He is saying he only received the report at noon today. I would want to question if the business of this country is that important to any one of these gentlemen. They would have gotten a copy of the order as of yesterday afternoon. Leonard, everybody got a copy. Everybody who wanted to get a copy were afforded a copy of that report. So I don't know why. Probably it came by the Guyana Post Office Corporation. It came by snail mail, or it came by airline or something, because for it to have been delivered today is another matter. But what can you say? Mr. Alexander has spoken, and he has also said what you
I could
seem
okay. You seem to
beyond.
think
Go ahead.
you seem to think that you're the bastion of all wisdom. I think he's talking to Yog Mahadeo there. Who are you to determine whether commissioners need time to study a document that was delivered at approximately 12:30 today? Do you know for a fact that a meeting was summoned for today? It is time for you to stop this fallacious nonsense and go write a fiction. And he goes, somebody is asking, is this Vincent Alexander, the commissioner? And Vincent Alexander replies, this is the commissioner, there's a photograph of him. You now seem beyond my enlightenment. I only came onto this page to rubbish the nonsense. It is not my intention to go have an exchange in an arena where reason is in deficit. This sounds like Freddie Gibson, if I was not mistaken. But that is it. So here we have it. It's the July the 9th. And it is 129 days since elections, March the 2nd elections, and that is more than 4 months. And so we go straight into the front pages of Kaito News as we normally do, and there isn't a lot of the headlines. This seems to be different. U.S.-Canada pile pressure on GCOM to make a recount declaration. Top of the newspaper. And then there's a photograph of 5 judges who would have endorsed unanimously the decision that was read, or the summary that was read by Justice Saunders, Adrian Saunders, yesterday at 3 p.m. CCJ rules 5-0. Lowenfield's June the 5th June report invalidated. Throws out appeal court's decision. Lowenfield cannot disenfranchise thousands of voters. That is what the gentleman said. That is what the court has said. GCOM to meet at 1:30 today. Well, we know that meeting is off. While we were chatting yesterday, there was a video that circulated by that involved the president of Guyana, David Granger, and he was standing in front of State House talking to some people that was gathered there, and there were policemen behind them. He had on no mask or anything, and he says the matter now lies with GCOM. He also made the point in that statement to the people that was videoed and then circulated that the Caribbean Court of Justice has not handed down any coercive orders that would force GCOM to go in a particular direction. So it's back to GCOM. What does that really mean? Yog, what does that really mean? I think we did try to raise this issue last evening in room 592. We had Anand Nanlal, former Attorney General, and of course one of the counsels in this matter here. What did Granger mean when he says the matter is now back with GCOM?
I think it's an admission of them trying to steal the matter away from GCOM. It was always with GCOM. Leonard, if I may, I just want to quickly go back to, I found that a very strange exchange that Mr. Vincent Alexander would have engaged in. One has to remember that GCOM was a party to the CCJ case. Leonard and viewers and listeners, being a party, we saw Miss Kite on the video joining the panel to listen, I believe, to the decision. Notwithstanding that, all the parties would have more or less received a written copy of the decision almost simultaneously, if not simultaneously. So it means that at the same time, all the people and all the stakeholders received the decision, the written submission, the written decision yesterday afternoon. It means GCOM was in possession of that decision as well, Leonard. And if Mr. Alexander is saying that GCOM only now found it fit at 12:30 to afford him with a copy of this decision, then there are more questions we need to ask of GCOM itself. Because why the delay? Everything goes by emails nowadays. Everything, I mean, the decision from CCJ would have been, the appearance in front of the court was by virtual platform, was by Zoom. And so they would have sent the decision by email. I would want to ask the other stakeholders to share with us what time stamp they would have received their copy of the decision by. But at the same time, Leonard, it begs the question, doesn't it? Why would GCOM have taken an entire night and half of a day, more than half of a day, because it's 12:30 p.m. according to Alexander's posting there, to give Mr. Alexander a copy of the order?
Well, let me see if I could probably we could make some conclusions here, Yog. Whatever is said on television there, whatever was read, that was live streamed, that was shared on the social media, that came out of the Caribbean Court of Justice, might not necessarily be the true thing. I would need, as a GCOM commissioner, to see something that is being sent to me by the Caribbean Court of Justice. I'm not going to be relying on what Sanders read. That thing could be false. I'm not sure. I'm just suggesting something. I'm not that bright, but I rather presume Vincent Alexander and the other commissioners wanted to be very, very careful that Justice Sanders doesn't have anything up his sleeves. What other conclusion could they have been?
Well, I don't know. I mean, we are making some presumptions here. But is it unreasonable? You are right. Is it unreasonable for this country to expect that everybody at GCOM would be extremely interested in getting their hands on the copy of whatever they need so as to move this process forward? It seems like only some people are very interested in moving this process forward, and the rest of us are going to sit until we get the pleasures of whoever to do that. However, I want to ensure that we can do something about this here. Let me repeat, Leonard, if Mr. Alexander is saying that he only got his copy at 12:30 today, knowing that GCOM was a party to these proceedings, one would then have to take this question now back to the chairman. And I think somehow or the other, we or Kaitor News need to reach out to the PR officer and say, well, what's going on here? Why have you set a meeting for 1:30? Why you wait for 1 hour before that meeting to share a copy of this decision with your commissioners? I mean, leave everything, leave expediency, leave the interests of this nation, throw away everything for a moment. Is it right? If we were not in this predicament we are in, would it have been right? And if it's not right, then it could not be right now to expect the man to get a copy of something 1 hour before the meeting. Now, this is not an excuse for him, because I certainly believe if I was in his position, I would have beaten everybody up to get my copy, to read it all through the night so that I could attend the meeting today and be educated on an educated platform.
Do we know, Yog, whether there was an actual meeting or they canceled the meeting before it even started?
Well, it was cancelled way before it started. I think when Mr. Alexander would have made some statement yesterday evening to say he needed to study the decision, and that's not an unreasonable. He has said that the chairman herself that would have set such precedence to want to study the decisions. He then announced there and at that time that this meeting must be postponed. Excuse me, and I think GCOM chairman may have acceded to his request to have it postponed so that he could have read it.
Absolutely. So we continue to pay attention to that. But what is important is that there are many questions now. You've seen some very strange maneuverings at this point in time. I think the ball comes back straight, or the spotlight has come straight back on Justice Retired Claudette Singh as chair for GCOM. What does she do? The court has made some decisions. It has made it very clear as to what it thinks. It believes that the 115,000 or quarter of the voters who would have casted their ballots, who would have been wiped out based on a decision by the chief election officer, to have them not be part of these elections in terms of it being counted. He has taken a decision. The court is saying very, very clearly that you have no authority to do that. So at this point in time, the back of the GCOM chair is against the wall. What does she do? It is time to stamp the authority in a very decisive manner, because we would have been from March the 2nd onwards. There have been questions over the decisiveness of that GCOM chair, and she would have come out from time to time, made statements. Her hands were tied because she was barred from the courts from making any declarations until the outcome of the CCJ. Now that has been lifted, Yog, what does she do? What are some of the options that she would have? I think we did discuss this with Anananda last evening, and he would have come out in a synopsis. What are some of the options that Claudette Singh has at the moment?
Well, first of all, Claudette Singh, again, is unfortunately in a very tight, tough spot. I know we all like to beat her up because she is the chairman and the buck stops with her. But look at it this way. A commissioner says, I want to read the CCJ decision. The commissioner is saying, I don't want to risk educated position for the sake of expediency. The commissioner, I'm not putting words in Commissioner Alexander's mouth at this. I'm just thinking aloud. He might be wanting to say, or he might have said, I'm not going to risk my educated position for the sake of expediency. And so I need to study this report. And as he said, it is something that the chairman herself did. So the chairman is in a tight position. She may have expected that the report, the written decision would have been sent around to all. Mm-hmm. The other stakeholders, the Jagdeo Irfan Ali's they felt vindicated. They felt that, okay, they went there and the oral submission was enough for them. So fine, Alexander says the oral submission, the oral reading is not enough for him. And as Anil Nandlal would have said, he says that it's shameless and these people are shameless and they'll use everything to delay this. So from one side, Alexander doesn't want to risk an educated position at this stairway of expediency. At the other side, Nandlal says, Gunraj et al. Will be saying that, look, is it too much to expect that we have waited 130 days? Is it too much to expect that you should have gotten this report like how we all got it? Listen to the decision like how we all listened to it, because there is no way you can weave yourself around this now. So the chairman is in a terrible position. If she acts in a haste and instructs them to act in a haste, they may come out and say, look, you're not allowing us to do our job as commissioners. It's a tough one, Leonard. It's a tough one. And I'm not taking sides for anybody. I'm just saying at this stage, ladies and gentlemen, I would want to think we waited 129 days. If Alexander needs 24 hours to read this thing, let him on get it 24 hours. However, by virtue of that same fact, I would want to also say, Leonard, that indeed it is hopelessly shameful even to think that you're waiting 130 days and to expect people to wait. Because look what is happening. Tomorrow is Friday. A weekend starts. So they're not, if they got to wait, if one of them, if they have a meeting tomorrow and let's say Lowenfield doesn't turn up to the meeting, what happens?
Push back
If they have a
day.
meeting tomorrow and the 6 commissioners, 3 of them don't turn up to the meeting, what happens? Are they going to work through the weekend, or are they going to do like, one might think that they would say, no, we're meeting again on Monday. So it's a lot of questions. And I think Nandlal put it well. And he has said in his in another note that he wrote that this decision by the CCJ requires no gloss. I'm quoting him. It requires no gloss. It is as plain as day. Mr. Godraj would have said that, that it is as plain as day, that he would have seen, he would have read, he would have heard, and the summary, the press release was also issued by the CCJ. And I think, that is what it is, Leonard.
Yes, thank you very much for that. And I was in the service shop this morning for my car. I need to service it, long overdue, and everybody keep coming up and asking, so what happened now? I mean, I didn't know what to say. Mm-hmm. I mean, they said, well, there's another twist to the story. It just continues, and you could see people shoulders slumped, regardless how the decision would have gone. I think people are just weary, battle weary over this entire saga that has been dragging on and on. Every week is one twist to another week. We've been sitting here more than 4 months, Yog, and you and I have been trying to tell the people something. When we believe that we turn in the corner and finally this country could move on, it stops, and then there's another twist to the story, and then you hear some fantastic, I think that there might be a wrong word, some explanation that's out of this world, coming from some of the best minds in the country, or people who believe would have had the best minds, coming out and say this, and you want to know which part of Guyana you're going to live when you continue saying these things with a very, very straight face. How do you live with yourself? How do you sleep in the nights? I don't know.
Right. Unfortunately, Leonard, what I think the chairman needs to quickly distinguish herself on or from is to stop being a judge and be the chairman of GCOM. You see, her role as a judge would always be to give the parties in front of her the time to make their pleadings, the time to make their submissions, but she would have known as well that that time cannot be unreasonable. This entire country has felt that the last time when she gave Lowenfield those, how many days it was, to prepare his report, it was really giving the PNC an opportunity to file this case that they filed, to delay it further. And so allowing them to keep on pushing her against the wall knowing, Leonard, that ultimately it will still come down to her having to make a hard decision, whether it's tomorrow or next week or next month. She will still have to make that hard decision. So she has to think whether she wants to continue to chair GCOM as a chairman or as a judge with all her years of legal expertise behind her. I have said before, I cannot put myself in her shoes. But Leonard, if I may, it is ridiculous to see that since yesterday afternoon, that APNU AFC, PNC, let's not gloss it over as Commissioner Gunraj would have said. PNC has now said, oh, well, the CCJ now said throw away the recount, and the recount is of nowhere in the people's decision, in the court's decision, was such an assertion or even a suggestion made. Nowhere was such a suggestion or assertion made. And I wish to ensure that we all remember that. People stop drinking this PNC Kool-Aid. It is lie. It is outrageous. It is fallacious. It is just horrible to see them doing more and more of this nonsense. At the end of the day, Leonard, let me remind everyone what the court said. The court notes, and I'm quoting, that an order issued by GCOM is, in a particular context, can never determine how the Constitution is to be interpreted. In other words, what they're saying is what we all said from day one. Well, not all. Everybody except the PNC lawyers said from day one. You cannot rewrite the Constitution. You cannot amend the Constitution. There is a procedure the Constitution must go through. The court, no law can change the supreme law. And this is what is amazing, that the PNC as of yesterday has now come out to say that because the CCJ, the president of the CCJ said the Constitution is supreme and the Order 30 or the Order 60, could not have overtaken the Constitution, it means the recount was rejected. That is absolute trash. That is absolute lie. And that we must put it to bed immediately, Leonard. That is not so.
Absolutely, and there's that other big issue which is staring us in our face. I think it came before Anananla last night, so interesting answers coming from him. If you missed that, just go to Kaicho Radio on Facebook or on YouTube. The video is there for room 592, and Ananla Yog Mahadeo would have been leading some of the questions, and myself was there. And you can listen to the answers and judge for yourself what is it exactly when it comes to that decision by the decisions by the Caribbean Court of Justice yesterday. What does it really mean? What I could tell you, Yog, is that the Court of Appeal right now, two decisions, both overturned. The one that yesterday, I think I'm no lawyer or anything, but I think the Caribbean Court of Justice has literally ripped that Court of Appeals decision from wherever it came from, and it raises its two decisions on elections 2020 that went before the Caribbean Court of Justice. Both of them were overturned. And so it comes back to the two judges who would have been involved in this particular case, the last two, as to what exactly. I think in this case here, Don Gregory would have been the person in both cases. So we'll have to look back at that, because when it comes to our court, we should have, while courts are allowed to, I think they have that freedom, and this is me, the layman, talking, not Kaicho News, not Kaicho Radio. They have the freedom to do whatever, and then you have the final court to appeal it. We got to be very careful that the whole world doesn't start to distrust your motives or ask whether you have a motive. And in this particular case, that is coming out. But I see somebody is asking us a question here. Maybe we could answer it and just get it out. Do you know whether there's a list that has come down for sanctions against local officials? We have heard a lot of rumors Nobody's conforming. What we could tell you is that the U.S., Canada, the ABC, EU countries has warned. In fact, as early as yesterday, if you look at the Kaiser News newspaper today, U.S., Canada piled pressure on GCOM to make the recount declaration. We only have to go to the acting U.S. Assistant Secretary of the U.S. Department of State, and this is Michael Kozak. The Caribbean Court had ruled it is time for GCOM to declare the winner of Guyana's election based on the national recount vote. Kozak stated that the will of the Guyanese voters cannot be ignored. And if you understand who this person is, this is a second in command. This is like the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Guyana. This is the equivalent to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs for the United States. But this is a department that has wide-ranging powers, a lot of power, has a lot of sway when it comes to the ears of the President of the United States. Should we be worried? Well, let's go across to what Michael Grant, Canada's Assistant Deputy Minister for the Americas, said. He noted an important ruling yesterday from the CCJ in a tweet. It is time for the election results to be announced by GCOM based on the recount. No more delays. I read that to you because two very powerful countries, the US and Canada, they both come out and they are looking very carefully. This happened within hours of the decision handed down by the Caribbean Court of Justice, that they would have sent this out. The whole world would have been reading it, and it's very, very clear what needs to be done. Has a list come down to Guyana with regards to sanctions? We're not aware of that. We would have heard like about a dozen names coming out, but it is rumors at the moment. We're not sure whether any former ministers were involved. What we do know is, from based on the sources within the various diplomatic circles, is that there it is issue that is under discussion with them, and they are nearing. If anything should happen that they believe would take away from the democracy of Guyana, the wheels of motion, the wheels are in motion to already move in that direction. What we do know is that Mike Pompeo, and this is the Secretary of State, the most powerful man when it comes to foreign affairs in the U.S., has already instructed his Department of State, or the State Department as we know it, to start finding or to take measures that anybody who is accountable for thwarting the will of the people, accountability in Guyana, that they should pay the price for that. And we know what the prices are. And so it is not only ministers or GCOM officials, it's anybody who is in charge of the narrative or painting a picture which might be otherwise, deliberately so, changing the tune, changing the story. So, Yog, these are very, very serious statements. We should be paying attention to it, and I'm hoping that as long as I'm living, that Guyana is not sanctioned. People don't have a clue. We could talk about it, about what it does to trade, what it does to our way of life, what it does to travel. We could talk all about that. People don't really understand. We only have to look to Venezuela to start having a deep understanding as to what sanctions could do. You could have oil, and maybe Yogi would want to talk a little very quickly on that, so people could understand that we are in the 11th hour now, and these are very real talks that are happening right now by the overseas partners of Guyana, people who've been around for the longest while. And we have thousands, hundreds of thousands of Guyanese living in the States, living in Canada, between those couple places, and they are paying attention. They're worried.
Mm-hmm. Well, Leonard, it's a discussion that we will have to have. Basically, an entire Room 590 will have to dedicate to the question of sanctions, because it's obvious that Granger and his cabal, they seem not to pay much heed. I mean, that seems to be what is happening here. They seem to not be paying much heed to threats of sanctions, and one has to evaluate what and why. And that's one of the questions we're going to be having with Mr. Freddie Kissoon tomorrow night in Room 592.
Yes, that would be interesting back again.
Yeah. The continued usurpation, the continued breach of constitution is another matter, and it's up to the people of this country to ultimately decide whether it's going to allow this to continue. The problem we have as a people is that the government breached the constitution. The government was corrupt. The government stole. The government did everything you could think of. Yet, after the people voted them out, they decided they're going to steal the elections now. So they stole properties, they stole assets, they stole contracts, they stole this. They did everything you could think of. And when you decided you're voting them out, they decided to steal the entire election. So people would be questioning, what can we do next? Because if your vote doesn't matter, what will ever really matter? And again, to that point, Leonard, we got to be very careful in addressing some of these things. So I'd like to separate them. One is the Constitution, and what do we do and what do we say about it? And to that point, we have tonight, Leonard, we have one of the foremost Caribbean attorneys on Constitution, Mr. Anthony. He's going to come in room 592.
What's his name?
To discuss. I'm going to share that with you so that we can put it on screen in a moment.
Great.
But he's going to come on room 592 to basically tell us what he sees in the CCJ decision and what Mr. Astafan can advise Guyana in terms of our constitutional breach. Mr. Astafan is you asked, it is Mr. Anthony Astafan. He is a well-known attorney that's been practicing across he's a senior counsel. He's been practicing a lot in the Caribbean and mostly in the OECS countries. And so we have him tonight to walk us through some of these constitutional nightmares that we seem to be happily embracing. However, I want to ensure that we can understand this. If Granger and his team would have made a mistake or would have done something up to yesterday, after the decision, there is an opportunity to accept it and move on. They refuse to move on. Leonard, at every step of the way, Granger and his team continues to lose this election. They have lost this election 5 times in the past 5 months. And they refuse to accept it. So the question that you have asked about sanctions now, we have to look at in terms of the sanctions. People don't want to accept this. A lot of the Guyanese who are living overseas, a lot of the people who are living in the Caribbean that is embracing this PNC cabal, they don't send any money here. They don't help anybody to live here. They don't help us to go through the problems we're going through. When the government raised taxes and taxed the pensioners of this country a couple of years ago, when they taxed the pensioners of this country, what else would be left to be done? They don't send any money to help out here, but they have a big mouth and a big opinion about telling us how we must do things. And at the same time, their own government that they're supporting is telling them, shut up and stay out of Guyana. Shut up and don't get involved in our business. So it's ridiculous to see how the argument goes and comes to suit what they want. But the truth is, a lot of people will be affected if sanctions were to come. What we do know is, yes, I will say plainly, while the information is not public as to whose visa is under consideration or whose legal position is under consideration, that information is not being shared publicly. But yes, those things are under serious considerations. And one would recall, ladies and gentlemen, recall that it was sitting ministers of the last government whose visas were revoked. And so it happened before, and it will certainly happen again. Coming back to the GCOM chair, Leonard, just quickly, let me tell everybody this. So somebody asked whether the CEO attends the GCOM meeting ex officio, that is as a natural course of his duties to attend the meetings. That is so. He attends these meetings as a natural course of his duties, ex officio member. But I rather believe, based on information we're getting, and I'm going to probably ask Mr. Conrad to join us at some stage to tell us more of what's going on, or any other commissioner. But I do believe that the chairman always would have informed the CEO that there will be a meeting at so-and-so time. I don't know whether there is official notification sent to the commissioners for this meeting tomorrow. That I do not know as yet.
You know, when I hear things like this about who sending notifications for who to attend which meeting, and I'm wondering, you know, what really about the faith of the people in institutions, about the faith of the people on the Constitution, and the faith of the people in the police, and so many other things. It really, I think the word baffle would have come out into play a couple of weeks back, after a reporter was told about being baffled. But what I could tell you that I'm extremely baffled at this moment, that you and I, Yog Mahadeo and Gildarie, actually having a conversation with the people of Guyana about who is receiving what. I think I'm looking here now. There is a statement coming out, I think, from Nigel Darmlal. From his information, the three commissioners, that is Charles Corbin, Vincent Alexander, and Desmond Trotman, asked for hard copies of the decision by the Caribbean Court of Justice. In this day and age, we're asking for hard copies so we could read it. You imagine that? I don't know whether I'm
Um,
missing something, Yog, but I mean, when I hear things like that, I'm wondering whether the people of Guyana really understand what is
well,
happening.
well, Leonard, I know a lot of people are going to beat me up that I'm picking their sides. It is not. It's just being very, very pragmatic. You yourself said, and this is not casting an aspersion upon Mr. Freddie Kisoon, that Freddie prefers to use his old phone rather than a smartphone. So not everybody is completely comfortable with the digitized form of data because they can't write on it and make notes on it and walk with it in their hands and so forth. My point, my point though is that if they needed a hard copy, why wasn't this given to them last night? The crisis this country is in ought to have determined that people would have gotten what they needed to get with great expediency, with great hurry. But if they need a hard copy, let's give them their hard copy. We have given them everything already. I don't say this with disrespect. They're given the age of the gentleman to maybe they prefer their hard copies and they could get it.
I thank you very much for that. So, in a very short while, I think Yog and I have spoken enough. We want to hear from the people. And of course, as is normal, this program opens up so the people can have their say. 226 7453, 226 7453. And of course, we want to hear from you. You want to text us 6222222. Our apologies. I want to apologize on behalf of the radio station and myself and Dr. Yog Mahadeo. We've been receiving so many texts on a daily basis to our numbers. We can't practically read all of them, but we do thank you for the interest, for joining us. And as much as practical, we are going to try to read what we can. But we do thank you. Just continue sending them, and as we get the time, we go through, listen to you on the phones as well as read some of those comments. So thank you very much for that. So that number that you send it to is 6222222, and you could call us within the next 5 minutes, 2267453. Right now, we are on Kite Show Radio on Facebook, on YouTube. On YouTube, you can click the subscribe button. So whenever there's anything live, that it is going to come to you, notify you right away that we're live with a particular topic or something that's happening. And things are always happening here on Kite Show Radio. So, Yog, this evening we're going to have one of the region's most respected lawyers, legal mind, that is going to be here in room 592. Yog is going to be leading the way because obviously we would want to know what the region is thinking about us, what is best practices, what should be happening at the moment, and so many things. His take, the lawyer's take on this. And tomorrow night, of course, we're going to come back with Freddie Kisoon. Always a good person to have a conversation when it comes to things happening in Guyana, politically wise. So, Yog, before we go to the calls, is there anything that we would have missed? Anything that should be discussing?
Well, Leonard, I would want to ensure that I think all the media houses and all stakeholders in this process needs to be extremely vigilant. Here is what we can do. People keep asking, what can we do as a people? Here is what we can do as a people. As soon as the lies are raised, speak up. when the Kool-Aid drinkers attempt to pour Kool-Aid down your throat, stop it, speak out, and tell them that's a lie. A copy, I think Kaitor News would have published the decision, Leonard, yes?
Yes, I think they did.
Yes. So a copy of the decision, ladies and gentlemen, is published on Kaitor News. If you need a soft copy of it, a PDF copy of it, contact us and we'll send it to you. And as soon as they come up on your Facebook page, or as soon as they start telling you nonsense, cut it out and give them a copy and say, read. Because it seemed like people conveniently, well, they had a problem with math and now they have a serious problem with English. Well, they had a problem with math, they had a problem with English, and now they have a serious problem with comprehension.
We got some serious problems here. Let's see whether our people in Guyana have a full understanding of it. So there's a caller online. Yes, good afternoon, caller, you're on the air. Yes, good afternoon, caller, you're on the air.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir. Could you lower the volume on the radio, please?
Sorry about that.
Thank you.
You hear me?
Yes, we hear you, sir.
Okay. I will say, TCOM chairman have all the power now. The world know who win the election. Not just Guyanese people know. And me sure the chairman should go ahead with the thing and declare the president and let the president hear it. Because they will go and come steady, and this is long time go ahead. Because if Mr. Alexander can't get a copy, what the thing was worldwide on the internet, on radio, what did TCOM chairman take everything? What did TCOM chairman say yesterday? Right, but they judge them say yesterday, right? How we cannot get a copy for understand to go attend to the meeting, right? I think the TCOM chairman have all the power in your hand, and this is the time to use your power and do what's the best. She knows what's the best and do the right thing, and she's a retired judge. She knows the rules, she knows the laws, she knows every single thing that's in TCOM. And she's the fittest person. I know she's under pressure, but now she's going to take herself out of pressure and do the right thing. So that was my question, and I don't know when will be the next meeting and when they'll declare the win. But I will listen to you from there. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, dear caller. Yog, you want to take a shot at that?
Well, I mean, it is what it is, and the chairman would have to, as we said at the top, Leonard, the chairman would ultimately have to realize, that she will have to make that hard decision, whether it's tomorrow or next week or next month. And the nation will, unfortunately, Leonard, the nation will hold the chairman responsible for these 100-odd days at the end of this process, because there may have been times that she could have taken immediate and condign action, and she hasn't done so. But you know what? Let us see. I would want to really say that Mr. Alexander, I'm happy he said publicly, Leonard, that he got the copy he needed at 12:30. So that is no more a question of whether he got a copy or not. He did receive his copies, and that can be taken because that is, amazingly, it's not on pen and paper, but it's posted online.
Yes, thank you very much, Yog. Good day, gentlemen. Dr. Yog and Mr. Pablo Gildarie, Leonard. Could you please send me a hard copy of the Kaitor newspaper? I'm not sure. We'd have to see. It is online. If you go to the e-paper Kaitor News online, you just click there. There is going to be that page. I think it is. Let me just see which page it's on right now. What we did was publish the entire summary as was rendered by Justice Adrian Saunders, the president of the CCJ, and it's on page 17 and 18. Pretty little longish read, but it is enough. You could take a couple minutes. We apologize. We cannot take any phone calls on our WhatsApp number 6222222. We can only take messages on that. Don't call. We're not going to answer. We can't answer because the audio is going to be lousy. So at the moment, Yog, I think we could go to another call. Yes, caller, you on the air. Good afternoon. Caller, you on the air. Good afternoon. Yes, I think we would have lost that one there. Yoga, so this meeting here, let's see whether there is going to be another meeting, how much hours it takes you to digest the report of the CCJ. So we are going to try to bring you some updates as to whether the GCOM would have called another meeting for tomorrow. But I don't think we could go on and on forever, but we headed in to the weekend again, another week. And it seems as if, Yog, how are you doing it? Somebody asked me last evening, how is it that you guys could talk so much? So where do you find the time? Where do you find the energy to do so much talking about something that seems never ending to the people of Guyana? And how do the people tolerate this nonsense that is happening week in, week out from the powers that be?
Hmm. Well, one of the things, Leonard, that is extremely has been interesting throughout this period of time is, ladies and gentlemen, it is not a simple task, for example, to be, for Leonard to be hosting anyone, or for yours truly to be hosting somebody like Mr. Astefan or Mr. Nandla, or any one of these persons. While they're legal luminaries, we also have to prepare. So your entire day and your entire night is spent reading and being on top of things. I mean, we had to ensure we read the CCJ ruling yesterday and listened to every word and listened to the read comments and take calls from everybody so that we could share the information with you here. So it's been interesting, is what I would say. And the thing is, Leonard, I think we all, well, most of the people in Guyana, most of our brothers and sisters, we share a genuine interest to see this country move on, to see the country move on beyond being held at ransom by the PNC presently. And for that reason, we all band our waist and put ourselves together in whatever way, shape, and form to get it done.
Absolutely. I've said it before, I think you've said it also, Yog. The people, you have a sense of an awakening in the people when it comes to this country and where it's headed. I think many of us have options of maybe moving to another country. We see what has happened with COVID, and we see what are the potential with this country. And there's a passion that is growing in the people to protect this little land of ours that for years has been beaten, that has been left at the wayside of the corner, with nobody really paying attention to what happens 20 years from now. How do we utilize the resources? How do we leave it for Gildarie's children or Yoke's children or maybe children of Guyana? What kind of future do we want this country to really, how do we see it? What kind of legacy does Yog and Gildarie, I use us because I could talk about us, what kind of legacy do we want to leave for the generation that's going to come? How do we protect our resources that you don't find people coming in, or you don't find one set of people benefiting or taking up a whole control of key prime lands at next to nothing and benefiting, and the rest of Guyana is not benefiting? These are the kind of questions that if you really love this country, you would understand that you just can't give away your resources for next to nothing. You can't give away oil. You cannot give away your gold. If you're making up a road, you're living in a street and you see a contractor come and give you a 6 for 9, that you shut him out and you stay in your house. You have to come out and say, what is it that your scope of works, what have you been given? You have that right to ask. You're a citizen, you're a taxpaying citizen. Come out and ask them, what is it that you were told to do? What is it that you're doing there? Did you dig up that hole there? Why are you not digging up that hole? Are you just giving us a 6 for 9 on that road? I came out, my street was being paved a couple of weeks back, and I asked the guys, what are you doing? I picked up the phone and I called the contractor and I said, I expect that when this road is finished that you're going to give me a proper job. That is me, the taxpayer, that is talking. How many taxpayers talking, Guyana, with regards to what it is that is supposed to be for them? You have a lot of rights. You have rights that you could demand from your politicians. This is something that you want. So let us don't get it wrong. Every day we sit here, we're not talking. I could take a very selfish angle, Yog, which is I'm not looking out for Yog Mahadeo. I'm looking out for me. I want a better Guyana, which is not something that is bad. Because if you don't want to do it, I want to do it. I want to ensure that my kids got some forest remaining for them that maybe they could ask for a concession to do some logging next 20 years. I'm sending them to college. I want to send them. And if there are no jobs available in the oil field, maybe they could get a concession, do some logging, so we can move. They could live. And the children could live. Do we want to give away 3/4 of the forest, including the ones that are not available to another foreign company. And some people might say that you're anti-foreign and nationalistic in that sense. There's nothing wrong with that. I make no apologies about that. With me wanting to
Well,
protect what is mine.
yeah, it is not, to me, it is not a matter of being foreign minded or local minded. I mean, Leonard, if we were to exploit our natural resources for the betterment of everybody in this country, there wouldn't be a million Guyanese living overseas now, would they? I mean, from 1960s coming right down to current time, people have been, well, even before then, during the colonial days, people have been fleeing this country. But from 64, 66 coming down to now, people have been fleeing the country because of political backwardness, because of our inability to develop this country. And let us just say half of the population that lives overseas, let us just say they went because of the pull factor. But you cannot ignore the push factor that pushed people away from Guyana, and it continues to push them away from Guyana. What is amazing for me, Leonard, here is what is extremely worrying for me. All of the people in the APNU, AFC, WPA, all of these people who have lost their moral ground. In 2014, 2013, 2012, they were fighting the PPP for the same thing that they're now doing. They were fighting against corruption, fighting against state media, fighting against the Guyana RAG, fighting against NCN, fighting against government taking private property for themselves, fighting against NISIL giving out state assets and giving out lands, fighting against all. They were the one that did this. They were the one that came out. And remember when they went to the picketed Marriotts? Remember when they did all of that? Today, they have no shame because they are approving, they're stealing an election to keep their thieving selves in government. They're stealing an election and they're robbing from the people to ensure that they prolong their own ability to milk this country, to milk the taxpayers. I want to remind everybody that every cent that these so-called ministers are drawing from the public purse since March 2nd is an illegal earning. They are not mandated by the people to be ministers of government. They're driving their fancy vehicle. If you don't watch yourself, you get run over on the road. Mr. Granger driving all over the place with so much, what you call them, outriders and all of that. You know, it's amazing the degree of mediocrity that exists in government that people in this country has to accept because the gods that they are decide this is how they want to live. Meanwhile, they're going to Blackbush Folder, going to Corriverton, go into the villages on Berbice, go East Bank, East Coast, Essequibo, go anywhere in this country, and you are seeing people punishing. But Leonard, that shame is what the world is assessing us on. The world is assessing Guyana on two sides, on two different paradigms. One is that you have a set of the cabal ready to rig and ready to steal an election. And on the other side, they are assessing how can the people of this country take this.
And so if you're now joining us, this is elections and COVID-19 watch here. Kaito Radio, you could get us on Kaito Radio, Facebook, YouTube, and click on the subscribe button on YouTube so we could send you updates whenever we go live, among other things, with regard to Kaito Radio. And Yoga, here's some messages coming in. I'm now listening to your program and I'm enjoying you all. Thank you very much. And this is coming from Lloyd Gariba. Lloyd, good day to you, sir, from Kaito Radio, Dr. Yog Mahadeo, and all the crew that is here. Good afternoon once more. If the CEO is not available tomorrow or anytime, what will happen to our president, I think Ali, to move this country forward? I think he's a supporter, he's saying there, of the People's Progressive Party. Let me see. Good day, gentlemen. That's the reason we can't have a winner-take-all government. When the PPP gets in, the government will do the same. Please, I'm appealing, don't call on 62222. We can't take any calls on that number for the reason that it is not allowed. It's not going to give us a good quality. We have a number 2267453. Text us on the 62222, and we're going to try to accommodate you there. There's a caller line. Good afternoon, caller. You're on the air. Good afternoon, caller. You're on the air.
Hi, pleasant good afternoon to you guys.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
I think something definitely wrong with Mr. Granger. I think he's losing it. To see that man stand up yesterday and telling his supporters that they're going to fight. What are they fighting for? What are they fighting for? Why is it Guyanese cannot see the greed in these people? Why is it a bunch of Guyanese running behind these people and feel that they have this country at heart? What do they have at heart? They're selfish greed. Granger, Harmon, and these guys are just selfish. They're selfish. The CCG ruling is final. It's final. Take it and move on. They're just embarrassing this country all the time. And then you got these little hard-haired panel like James Bond and them will call themselves a lawyer. We basically know crap, putting a set of stupidness in social media and trying to ting up people and get them excited over what? Then you got this dunce run for a group.
Sorry. Let us be respectful. With all due respect, let us be careful with that.
Yeah, don't call any names.
Yes.
Just say what you have to say, sir.
Okay, I apologize for that, but these guys just upset you.
I know. I realize, yes.
Understood.
They're just upsetting you day by day. People not getting job, people struggling to pay their bills, people struggling to pay their rent, people struggling to put food on the table, and Granger and these guys they're calling themselves leaders. Who can they lead? Mm-hmm. Who can they lead? Lead us to where? Lead us into destruction. This is where they're taking us. This is where they're taking this country into destruction. They're trying to destroy this country. Mm-hmm. Who can they lead? They're treating us like we're a pack of pigs in a pen. They're behaving like it's animals they're leading. How Granger can call himself a man of integrity and dignity and honesty? Who he feel he talking to? Who he feel he fooling? The business of this country is on standstill because of that man. And the bunch behind him that are greedy. I grew up during boiling time and I know what it is. I know what we've been through. I know about people lining up for food and oil and those things. This is where the water carry us back to.
Thank you.
Nonsense, man.
Thank you very much, Zay Caller. Any other points, quickly?
No, I guess I'll stop here before I get too happy.
No, I realize. No, we are allowed to do that, but we have to keep it within the thing. But we understand the frustration. Thank you very much, Zay Caller, and thank you for being with us. So, in the meantime, dear, we try to bring you some other messages. Good afternoon, gentlemen. Question: if the government continues to buy time via court injunctions, can the local court deny them from filing any cases? Don't the judiciary have a moral compass? Very good point. Yog, maybe your thoughts. We see, I think there have been a lot of criticisms about all kind of action being granted. Some of it that may be very vexatious in nature. What are some of your thoughts on that? Have the courts been bending backwards, or what could one conclude?
I would not want to judge as to whether the courts have been bending backwards. I think one of the overarching principles is that every citizen has a right of access to the courts. And, like with the Nandlal versus Mingo, Holodar versus Mingo matter, the court can determine that the case is frivolous. A court can determine that you're wasting their time. Sorry, I used the wrong example there. That wasn't the right example. But there may be instances where the court might determine that this, you're wasting the people's money, because when you're using the court's time, this is why the court is eager to have people pay the costs. Where remember when you pay costs, you're only paying costs of the other side. You're not paying costs of the judiciary itself and all the employees and everything else. So you're wasting again the people's money of one of the arms of statehood. So the court might determine a case is now worth their thing, and they would slap down some charges. It's very hard for wasting the court's time. That being said, though, in most of these matters, like what we have here tonight, for the past couple of weeks, the court might allow people to present themselves and present their cases. And maybe it's one of the questions we can certainly deliberate with, Mr. Astafan tonight as to what is the limit, if there is any, to the court receiving some of these matters in front of them. You would want to remember that it is the same CCJ that Basil Williams and the entire PNC cabal had embraced so strongly that everybody was wondering whether the CCJ then, in those days, people on the PPP side were wondering whether CCJ was taking up new AFC side. Remember that third term case?
I was about to raise that with you. I think Jackie would be very upset with that.
So that third term case was a classic case where when the CCJ was making a ruling that pleased the PNC cabal, they were very happy with it. But look at what we have done to this, to the message you just received to that point. You had the Patterson matter, the appointment of the chairman of GCOM. That went to the CCJ and was thrown out, the Court of Appeals decision. You had the other matter, I keep forgetting them because there's so much now. And of course, this most recent one, the matter with the NCM, the 33 being a majority of 65. That went to the CCJ. Then recently, the Court of Appeal attempted to rewrite the Constitution of Guyana, and the CCJ said you can't. The Constitution is supreme.
Absolutely, and in this time of when we should be very, very serious, I must tell you there's some breaking news now. The only court that is left for the people to turn to the moment is PAM Court, and I think people are headed there to file an appeal at the moment. Yog, I'm not sure whether you're going to be party to that.
Not at all. I will not encourage that. We need everybody to be sober and sane and vigilant to ensure that another IPAS may not go down upon us when we are not vigilant and sane and sober. We all need to be very, very, very focused. If you think you are focused on election day, be more focused from now till that declaration is made. We all got to be very alert.
All right, that was a bad attempt at the joke. That the only court,
I know,
the only court that is left is PAM Court. There's a caller online. Good afternoon, caller. You on the air? Good afternoon, caller. You on the air?
Hi, hello.
Yes, you're on to Kite Show Radio. Go ahead.
Yeah, Mr. Yog and Mr. Gildarie.
Yes.
The program is we're hoping winding down, but it seems like it's always another day. And but yesterday I actually heard a crowd asking Mr. Granger, and you can hear in the background them asking, please tell us what we want to hear. And this became very concerning to me because as leaders, we know that if we tell our people what they want to hear, lots of times it's not the truth. We end up suppressing the truth because you want to gain a crowd, you want to gain a following. And I sense like it was the ideal opportunity for Mr. Granger to tell that crowd that was in front of State House, this is what the decision is. And make it clear it was an ideal opportunity, but no, the truth are being kept from the people is being suppressed, and the people are going away thinking that there is another truth. And so I would just like to encourage, especially the leadership of the APNU at this point in time, take the opportunity to communicate not what the people want to hear, but what the truth is. And it's about time that people begin to accept whether you like it or not. This has been the voice of the people. This has been the decision of the country. And our country needs to move forward with lots of prayers and lots of hard work. And and those elements that wants to create trouble, they need to be encouraged. Let's maintain the peace and unity in our country, because at the end of the day, we all have to work to rebuilding whatever gets damaged. Again, I want to thank you, fellas, for being faithful and being very, very patient, and want to ask the entire public to continue to be faithful and patient. Thanks again.
Thank you very much, dear caller. And Yog, let me tell you this. I said it a little earlier, and I'm going to say it again. We do happen to have some very wonderful people in our country here. It's a handful, a couple of them, maybe a dozen or two. I think it was Anandal that says maybe about 40 people that is basically doing the nonsense. But we do happen to have some very warm people here. You go up to Berbice, and I want to say hello to Berbice, right across Berbice, very warm people. Essequibo, up Linden, we happen to have some people there, and all across this world. You go to the homes and they open it up and they share with you. We have people here who want to see what is good for this country, and like I said before, there's a big awakening of the people. They want to move this country forward. They want to see the leaders go well. In fact, I did have a call this morning. I'm not sure whether I have the liberty. Very close to one of the political parties, and he says, you guys continue to do the job that you're doing, but I want you to know one thing. I don't expect whichever government goes in there that you have to hold the feet to the fire. Do not allow them any respite. Do not allow them any honeymoon. Go right after them. Make sure that they continue to not only do the people's work, but ensure that they deliver on the promises. So, Yog, I heard that call today, very, very, very passionate, and there's a feeling that is coming out there. He does really indeed care about the people, and I think that's more of what I would like to see. And I think every good thinking, right thinking Guyanese people would want to see in this country that our people really care when they see any abuse of state resources, when they see our cars being driven by the police. You should stop them and says, that car that you're driving there, that motorcycle that you're driving there, it is for the police work, and you should not be treating it like when it's somebody else's vehicle. It is your vehicle, it is my vehicle, and you're working for me, and therefore you have to treat it as such. That's what you should do. You have the right to do that. And if they don't want to hear, pick up the phone, take a picture, video it, and you send it to the newspaper or put it up on Facebook or social media. You have that right. People should start being accountable for all the actions, and it doesn't matter where you work in. It does not belong to the ministry, it belongs to the people. That's how you start looking at it. Yog, before we move on,
Correct.
Go ahead.
You are right. And Leonard, yes, the media has to continue assessing the government and holding them responsible. I'll tell you, from my own perspective, as a private citizen of this country, I've always been outspoken against the governments. What I'd done was, when APNO AFC got into power, I gave them 100 days. They said they want 100 days to do what they have to do. I was horrified to see that within the 100 days, one of the first things they did was, well, two of the first things they did. One was to pay themselves more money, and the other one was to subvert state funds for that so-called park that they created. So they started off really on the wrong foot, and they loved that wrong foot so much that they continue being wrong-footed right through. But after after the 100 days, that's when everybody started to say, okay, you have had time to do what you promised to do, and you haven't done so, and now we're going to come out. And I would want to think that what we need to do is to probably allow the new government, it's 100 days in office, it's 3 months, just over 3 months, and then start to be very, very open, continue to be vigilant. I'm not saying don't be vigilant, and then continue to be very, give assessment as to what their performance is. And yes, Leonard, when state assets and state funds are being abused, we must speak out. When any government, including the current one, it seems like this current government is not engaging in any acts of racism, or not engaging in any acts that doesn't speak to discrimination, and you can't speak out. any government that engages in any this kind of discrimination, whether it's race, religion, whatever, we got to oppose it and oppose it strongly and forcefully. Governments must realize they are put in there by the people.
Thank you very much. And so there is a message here. Since the end of the recount, what actually took place at GCOM day to day? Is the commission fully staffed or on full salary? Does Justice Madam Singh and the GCOM executive turn up to office every day, still waiting for Mr. G to do the writing? So ashamed of him. Keep the pressure up. And that is coming from one of our viewers, listeners. Thank you very much, dear viewers, listeners.
The problem is, Leonard, the country is more ashamed for Mr. Lowenfield than he seemed to be ashamed of himself.
What about, well, I don't even want to go there. You don't want to bring in people, family into it. Hello,
No,
dear.
no.
No, I don't want to go there, yo. Hello, dear. I'm a Guyanese who's living in England for the past 25 years, but spend a lot of time going back and forth to Guyana. Me and my husband have been watching and following your program since it's interesting. We are also anxious since our plans to immigrate back to Guyana is on a hold. Hopefully the situation is resolved in a very peaceful way. Thank you for highlighting the world about everything that's going on. Stay safe. That is coming, I think, from all the way from England. And so nice one on the Palm Court. I'm not sure. It was just an attempted wicked rumor, wicked rumors and wicked whatever. Just heard.
We're not advertising anybody.
No, absolutely not. Just heard Leonard said that it's very hot in Guyana. It's equally hot in Toronto right now in summer mode. It's not really hot. There are lots of rain this morning. It seems as if the farmers are going to be a little happy after a dry, very dry, oily this year. I hope that we don't have too much of rain. I think the trail, the Linden Latham trail has been very bad in some parts. Lowenfield is protected by the PNC. This is downright nonsense. Well, regarding the chair's vehicle, I'm sure someone can lend her a vehicle in Guyana to execute her duties until the elections are over. I think this person is talking about reports that the Land Cruiser, it's a beautiful, I think a maroon Land Cruiser that was given to the chair, and then they took it back. At least there's a report. Somebody claimed that on here. And then they give it to the chief elections officer to drive around. And the lady, the chairperson, was left to use her own vehicle or some other small vehicle. So it's very important that the chief elections officer be given outriders and police escorts. I'm not sure what kind of protection is being given or what kind of escorts is being given to Madam Chair. If you're listening to us, Madam Chair, all the best for you, to you. And we want to wish you all the best in health also, and that you do your job according to the laws and as quickly as possible. That's my prayer for you today. I think Yog is going to put it a little more eloquently than I am. I did. Good afternoon, Gildarie and Yog. Keep up the good work. I'd like to know what would happen if the commissioners don't show up tomorrow for the meeting. Well, I think Yog has explained that is basically that they have 24 hours to call the meeting, and how many persons have to be present, or the least number of persons have to be present for the Madam Chair to go ahead and say there's a quorum on the second meeting.
Basically, she gives a notice and 3 and 1.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So as long so there could be three commissioners on one. Let's say that the coalition commissioners, if you want to call them that, don't turn up, and the three others from the PPP or the opposition side turns up with the chair. Could that constitute a forum?
You're talking about the first meeting or the second one?
The second one, quorum.
Oh no, the second one, I believe that if the three of one side doesn't turn up, they will proceed. It is deemed that they can proceed as long as they give the notification, the 24 hours. On the first meeting is 3 and 1, minimum of 3 and 1.
Mm-hmm. But let's see how that happens. So many scenarios people are thinking about. It's already started today. There was supposed to be a meeting at 1:30. That never got underway. That's because the commissioners, 3 commissioners on the coalition side, wrote and said they wanted hard copies, this according to what has been reported. They wanted hard copies of the CCJ's ruling, and they wanted to study it first before there is a meeting. The thinking is that there could be a meeting as early as tomorrow. We have not got a confirmation as to that meeting tomorrow, but we could go to the line now and hear what the people have to say. Yes, good afternoon, you're on air.
Hi, a pleasant good afternoon to you, gentlemen.
Good afternoon, sir.
I must say I'm enjoying the program. My contribution is, first of all, I'm 33 years of age, first-time registrant and also a voter. And for me, well, our younger generation, we find it very distasteful, very nasty as how our country is being held sabotage, and the legal proceedings that you got to go through for such simple matters. What I find also very, very nasty is that we are being viewed that we can't even handle our own business in our country with these matters. We got to go till to the CCJ. That is very embarrassing. However, I'm proud to know also that we have intellectual leaders that present and argue and represent our democracy, our constitution, and our laws. What I find most amazing is with yesterday when Mr. Granger was addressing the public. I was under the impression that he would have started using that opportunity to start dropping gears, calming them down, start a a path of transition. But listening to him is like he's vamping them up and he's manipulating them, and also he's giving them a false hope. And it's very disturbing. Also, for my simple mind, as a simple person, I listened to the entire proceeding yesterday with the CCJ, and it's very when all the legal hearings and everything is done, coming on to the end, there was a very simple explanation as to what transpired, and it's a very clear understanding. Anybody could understand it, and I find it very, very disappointing as to Mr. Alexander's attitude towards the meeting today, because the logical, the level-headed, and the patriotic and the democratic Guyanese would have expected by weekend we would all put this behind. But then again, we also must understand, and we must also expect the worst-case scenario when it comes to dealing with APNU. Because since the no-confidence motion, we all know, if we follow the case from since the no-confidence motion, we all know what's their mode of operation.
Mm-hmm.
So, in saying this, I still have faith that, well, for me, they've run out of options. The only thing left for them to do is probably get a time machine and go back in time. But we must embrace, and we must also look to the worst-case scenario that they're going to do. I was listening the other day, I think it was yesterday, I was listening to Mr. Hines and his wranglings. I find it very hurtful to listen to some of these guys. These guys are in foreign countries, and the statements that they make, the requests that they make, that what they expect there to happen. I found it very disturbing when he made a statement, when he said that the entire matter now is out of the political leaders' hands and is now in, I think he said it was a civil society. What was he trying to say there? That makes me think. And I was like, these majority of these people that make these statements, they're not in Guyana. They have to be overseas in foreign countries making these statements. And I hope that people, when they hear these guys make these statements, there's a selective group of them, when they make these statements, they must realize in a logical, common sense mind that these people have no integrity, no credibility, and they have nothing positive for Guyana or Guyanese. They don't have, they are totally oblivious to what is required for this country to move forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Zir. And Yog, very eloquent, very logical in the way that he put forward his argument there. Somebody said they're going to the Pandit to open a book to see what's going to happen. So we have our good people in there, how you say it. lots of humor. But to be serious, I think the gentleman raised a point there with regards to what could Granger have told some people who were saying to him, I want you to tell us what we want to hear. And he's standing there in front of maybe some very aggressive people. What could he have told them?
Well, Leonard, he could have said what he said before. Look, go back a couple days ago. What did Granger say? He said, let us see what the court has to say. And we keep on saying we'll abide. He keeps on saying we will abide with whatever is the outcome of the court decision. Yet, so he keeps on moving, shifting the goalposts. I think what we need to do, we need to track all his words. What date he says what, and what dance he did the next day, and what dance he did the other day. And so yesterday that call is spot on. He had an opportunity to tell his people, any true leader would have taken a grasp of the reality of the situation and could have said, listen, the court has so ruled and so, and here is the outcome. And he didn't do all of that. Instead, he amped up a false expectation. And Leonard, Granger is guilty, as is Hines, of setting up people against people. That nuisance from overseas that keep pushing this racist nonsense, that's what they're doing. I don't know why the ERC is asleep or anybody that's supposed to be running these organizations asleep, and you got to go file a complaint to them. It's plain when a man stands up and say, look at me, and it's people like me that is being killed and people like me that needs to see. That is absolute division and wrong and racism. But nobody is calling out Granger for what he's saying. Nobody is calling out David Hines for saying, burn the boxes, burn the ballots. Nobody is calling them out. They're beyond reproach. But what they're literally doing, Leonard, they're setting people against people. It's us here that have been calling on people that no matter what they do, let us remain at peace and calm. You check. It's the so-called leaders, those who think they're leaders of this country, are setting their people up to fight. It is us on the media and on the forefront of fighting for democracy that is telling people, let us be calm. Let us look what is happening and we'll take decision as to how to act at the right time. But it has to be with peace. It has to be with an understanding of toleration.
Thank you very much, dear Dr. Yog Mahadeo. You're now joining us, Elections Watch, COVID-19 Watch, and we've been coming to you more than 4 months now, right here on Kaicho Radio. Compliments of the publisher and owner of Kaicho News, Kaicho Radio, Mr. Glenn Lal. He's made the forum available. I want to say thank you, Mr. Glenn Lal. You have not asked us to get any sponsorship because you made it available, and it is a good thing. We have been able to meet some very good people. I want to say good day to you too. So it's July the 9th, 2020. And if you are now joining us, this is what you need. This is what you need to know with regards to elections 2020. A meeting that was scheduled for 1:30 has been postponed to be hearing until tomorrow. That's because 3 commissioners on GCOM, this is Vincent Alexander, Charles Corbin, and Desmond Trotman, says they want hard copies. They've written GCOM to have that provided to them, hard copies of the CCJ's ruling decisions, so they could be able to study it, to keep themselves informed, so they could have a meeting. That's the story that we have so far. What else could we tell you except that it has been 129 day. 129 day. That is 129 days of the lives of Guyanese who would have preferred or have a preference to do something else that would have seen the upliftment of this country, that we could progress, maybe benefit from our oil, pay attention to what we're getting, and maybe change it and improve on that. Unfortunately, we have been deeply divided because of a handful of people has decided to use the opportunity, to use the courts, to use every means available to thwart the will of the people. And it has been coming from the international community. The pressure has been coming on the U.S. and Canada yesterday, swiftly on the heels of that court decision, the CCJ decision. They've issued statements which says get on with it, look at the results of the recount, make the declarations, and let the country move forward. As we speak here now, we are waiting GCOM. The ball is in GCOM court. The president has says that the ball is in GCOM court, and everybody is stating that it is up to the GCOM chair now to ensure that she does what is the correct thing. Let's see where it goes. Yog?
Yeah, and Leonard, that aside, look, the Department of Political Information, I believe, has now gotten to the stage where it's acting in absolute disrespect and lack of any moral grounds. Let me tell you something. If you go on the Department of Political Information page, Leonard, guess what in the news? The news is Minister Norton extend condolences. The news is Aubrey Norton says so. The news is Mayo Robertson said so. The news is David Granger said so. Nothing about what other stakeholders who are paying them their salaries for doing this nonsense, nothing about what the other stakeholders think about this process. This institution represents what is wrong with this country. These were people who used to fly a kite of moral turpitude in the past, a morality, moral ground, and now they're flying high. That's all, because there's no morality anymore. Leonard, those people who are working there even, they should be ashamed of themselves for working under such ridiculous, backward, perverse political directives that can do this to the taxpayers of this country that is paying them their salaries. Leonard, this is a shame, and I think the taxpayers of this country needs to come out and ensure that this nonsense stops. This Department of Political Information is all taxpayers funded, and it's using every minute of its time there to spew what is lie, what is perversion, what is immoral to the people of this country. And that speaks, Leonard, to what you and I said earlier. These were the people pre-2015 who used to say everything was wrong. But they now represent what is wrong in this country. That gentleman and his crew represent everything that is wrong in this country, Leonard.
Thank you very much for that, Yog, and I do agree with that. Hi, guys, I'm from Tampa, Florida. This is from Danita Sijitan, and I've been watching you with my program on a daily basis due to the COVID, and my lunch is at 2 p.m., so I could just watch the program. I feel the pain of the Guyanese people because of Apnu Circus. So I want to say hello to all our Guyanese people there in Florida and right across the U.S., Canada, Europe, Caribbean, Brazil. We have people in Brazil as well. And of course, as far as Norway, Barbies. Hello there, Barbies. Esquibo on the East Bank, wherever you are. Grove Diamond. Hello to you people. So, Yog, we go quickly to a call. Caller, you're on the line. Good afternoon.
Yes, go on.
Yes, good afternoon, caller. You're on the air.
Hi, Kaiser News?
Yes, you are. You are on air. Go ahead, sir.
Yes, I must say thanks to Mr. Dr. Yog Mahadeo and Mr. Leonard Gildarie. They are doing a fantastic job. I'm a regular listener to this program, and I really want to share the concern of the frustration that is going on here in our country with this elections problems. It is getting frustrated. It is getting frustrated. It is getting hurtful to see what's going on. You know, the leadership of the APNUAFC, and you look at them and you see exactly that the care for this nation is not there. The care for this nation is not there. People are going hungry. Children are going hungry. Families are going hungry. things, people are not getting jobs. We have the COVID-19, upon us. The sickness is upon us. Yesterday I saw in front of the president's home that he has in Georgetown there, where lots of people were there, and he spoke with them, and they were all together, closely knitted together there in arms, no social distancing. Now this is terrible. This is health we are dealing with in the nation. This is a political situation we're dealing with, and this, like it never. You mentioned about 129 days, but I'm going to add one more in front of the 129 and make it 1,129 more days like we have to go. This is getting frustration. Now, today should have been a meeting there. Suddenly, the PNC commissioners want hard copies. Now, tomorrow comes again, and then we're going to have a next meeting next week Tuesday, and next week Thursday, and it continues. This is frustrating. And sometimes that, if Granger believes, and Claude Singh believes that the two of them going to hold this nation at ransom, something is going to be done definitely, because people feel the hurt. People are feeling the hurt out here. And I could sense Dr. Yog Mahadeo in his words that he's using. He is feeling the hurt. Leonard, you're feeling the hurt. People are feeling the hurt. These people are just playing around this nation, holding out at ransom. Claude is saying she could have solved this issue long before. She is playing the games with APNU. She's allowing this. And I tell you tomorrow what is going on. Tomorrow there'll be no meeting tomorrow. And if there is a next meeting tomorrow, it's going to cancel for next Tuesday. And when next Tuesday comes again, something is going to happen again. By the time next Tuesday, an injunction is going to happen again. And next Thursday is going to come again. And next Tuesday will come again. And next Thursday. And this poor nation suffers under this ungodly that claims they are honest and they are church people, and I don't know what more to say now. I don't know.
That is okay. Where you calling from, caller? Where you calling from, sir?
Yeah, I don't want to get serious.
Okay, no problem. It sounds overseas, but thank you very much. I hear your pain, and I think it's a lot of Guyanese have been feeling the same way. So thank you, dear caller. Yog, you wanted to say something?
The caller is right. The caller basically speaks for a lot of Guyanese. Mm-hmm. Everybody's feeling frustrated. And yeah, sir, you have a point. I mean, given our experience over the last 4 months, since March 2nd, given our experiences, we have very slim confidence that anybody at GCOM seems to have this country at heart. We have our confidence level is eroding every day, that people really care about this country. What it seems is that the commissioners are following the political masters, and the political will dictate what they do. And unfortunately, it just pushes the chairman further and further into a corner, as we said, Leonard. So, yeah, I mean, I cannot disagree with the caller. We're all feeling it.
Yes, I thank you for that, Yog. I think, let's see, there's another caller line. Let's go straight to that. Caller, good afternoon, you're on air.
Good afternoon, Mr. Leonard Gildarie. I know you all said don't bombase the chair, but for the chair to accept an excuse from Mr. Alexander and the commissioner of the afternoon like that, I sure kindergarten school teacher would not have accepted an excuse like that, because they are commissioner. They have important matters. This matter is important to them. You tell me they may listen to the reading of the judgment. They didn't see it. They didn't study it. And they are commissioners. This is overbearing. The last time the GCOM chair gave Lowenfield 2 days court matter, I think she's playing around and giving them time to do what they have to do. She got the power and she had to come out. If you don't want to come to meeting, sit and declare your result. The whole world know it. What is she playing around with? The next thing, Mr. Granger leave State House last night at 8 o'clock. The curfew that the road is clear. Yet have police at every corner from Charleston till to Paul come out and stand at each corner for let he pass before the police look and enforcing the curfew along the place. The road is clear. Why he have to get all this? This man is overdoing this thing now. And it's time the guy needs to call him out.
Thank you very much. Any other point, caller?
Thank you.
Thank you very much, caller. There is a text. How does an independent body like GCOM, which has access to all the resources available to its members, who are handpicked to carry out only elections again, the one and only duty, has members who are acting like they're in the kindergarten? It is madness to the extreme. And that is coming from one of our listener caller there. GCOM is part and parcel of this corruption. So a lot of people are very upset here. The anger is growing with GCOM and what is happening there. Dr. Yog Mahadeo and Leonard, this will be over soon. Keep the good fight. Continue to speak out for the citizens. Our brothers and sisters are starving, and this is not right. Our outside countrymen continue to do what we can. However fearful the day, should the president allow sanctions to occur, our prayers are with you all. Thank you very much for that. There's a caller line? Yes. Caller, good afternoon. You're on air.
Hello, how are you? I'm calling from New Jersey.
New Jersey. Pretty good, sorry. Go ahead.
Listen, this COVID-19 is really a bad thing. And, you know, the PVP put out their manifesto before this COVID-19. So I don't think anybody should hold their feet to the fire to have their manifesto be, you know, be adhered to, because now you have a different roof and scenario situation. So I hope you guys don't say, well, you guys have manifesto and now this manifesto is not being adhered to, but you have to address the problem at hand first, which is the COVID-19, you know? So you guys have to understand that. And my friend Anil, I think he needs a massage on his hand. His hand has got to be hurting him because he keeps punching out the Vassal Williams so much. The man is punch stroke now. You know, the man is punch stroke. You can't keep hitting the man like that.
Thank you.
So I got to, I got to come now and massage your hand for you. All right?
Yes, thank you very much. I think Yogo will extend the sentiments to the good counsel. So thank you very much, dear, from New Jersey. Yog, over to you with regards to what is it that we are likely to see this evening on room 592.
Leonard, in room 592 tonight, we're going to have, I wonder if Kevin can pull up the flyer on screen for us. We're going to have Mr. Anthony Astepan, who is a well-renowned lawyer on constitutional and other matters in the Caribbean. He has been operating a lot in the OECS countries and places like that. He is going to come and we want to ask him a lot of these questions as to, what are the finer points that one can garner out of yesterday's decision at the CCJ, what in his legal mind he sees as the next steps. And, we want to also ask him, is there anything we can do to enforce GCOM to act expeditiously? So it will be an open discussion with Mr. Astafan tonight in room 592. Mostly we're going to be looking though, as to the legal implications of things that has been done already by GCOM, done by PNC, done by everybody in this process. And, in his mind, given his experience across the Caribbean, what the other countries and their legal persons are thinking about what is going on here, Leonard.
Yes, and I guess that should be interesting. It's always good to have a feel of what the region is thinking. We're not a country that is an island that is located somewhere in an ocean that has no connections. We have the CARICOM headquarters here, and this entire elections has put us in a very bad light. We have really exposed some nastiness from some part of our society. And I think I want a better word for that because when we would have been working very hard, building relationship, building bridges to the rest of the world, ever so often you would see within the government, they would send you press releases or photographs of the president of the day receiving the credentials from a foreign dignitary, whether it's a diplomat, whether it's a consul, whoever it is. These are all part of the ongoing engagement with Guyana to build the relationship with the rest of the world. And it's all been torn down. At one event, March the 2nd elections, it's all been torn down. Not only the region, the US, Canada, Britain, the EU, the rest of the world, everybody is said, yo, your short is torn. You need to put on a new short. And Gildarie, I don't believe that you're fit to sit in that seat. That you should remove. We have not been listening to that. The whole world is saying that you're wrong. So, Yog, this is something that has really opened the eyes of the people when it comes to the kind of person that Gildarie and Yog are, and whether they're fit to be leaders. And I'm very specific about this because people are going to start. People have already started. They've already or come to a conclusion with regards to the caliber of our leaders. And let me tell you this: I've said it before. I'm going to say it again. As part of the newspaper duties, we cover Parliament, and my deepest fears is that there's going to be a government in there, and we're going to have an opposition that is not going to be functioning or functioning properly. And I think you would have said it up 10 times too. If you stand up in Parliament and the government side, let's say that the coalition goes into opposition, accept the opposition, which seems like as if the writing is on the wall and it's something inevitable. You stand up there, what kind of credibility that Yog, who has a different posture now, would have there? What kind of hecklings is going to be there? Oh, yes, Yog, you're the one that was standing up and say that 33 is greater than 32. And that kind of thing that's going to be happening. And so, what do you say there? We need a very strong, a very serious opposition that is going to be sitting in the parliamentary accounts committee, this PAC, and they're going to be looking at last year's spending of the government and in a very serious way, sitting there asking them, why did you spend $100 million on an excavator that should cost $20 million? These are the kind of representation that we expect our leaders, our parliamentarians, to be carrying out their functions in Parliament and other places. They're supposed to be sitting on state boards. They're supposed to be part of other constitutional body, the ERC, on other state boards. You would have MARAD and so many other Guyana Energy Agency, GPL and so on. You have to be sitting there. You're not functioning. What kind of representation? You're going to have a government that's going to be in there that nobody's holding the feet to the fire. The gentleman says give them a little break, but I'm saying to you that the work starts. I think any government that wants to go in there and want to prove their worth, they have to start looking now and have a clear plan to hit the road running the first day. This is not there isn't any chance for delays here, not any time to settle in or for the bed to be broken in. No, we don't have that time. You were in there before. Get the work done, get it started, and let's hit the road running. So Yog, maybe there's something, I'm not sure how you feel about it, but I have definitely some thoughts about a very strong opposition.
There needs, and that is one of the saddest things that would have happened here, Leonard, that the way that the PNC, AFC, APNO, I hate to say AFC and APNO because that's all dead and buried, is the PNC. The way that the PNC has carried themselves on, they're the laughing stock, not just of Guyana, of the Caribbean, of the world. And so how will they be able to conduct themselves as a respectful opposition when that time comes? We don't know. So I endorse what you say. I mean, there needs to be a strong, very, very strong opposition. May I just quickly remind everyone, Leonard, that you need to read the the summary of the judgment of the July 8th decision by the CCJ. Please check Kaitor News online. You can, if you picked up your copy of the Kaiser News newspaper, it's there in your hands. If you need to check the online copy, is there online. Leonard, if I may, I just posted the link on my Facebook page that you can also get the PDF online for. We need to ensure everybody gets a copy of this decision, reads it, understands it, and be prepared for the Kool-Aid servers and the Kool-Aid drinkers that are coming your way. Read, and let us educate ourselves. I've also shared, Leonard, it's a 14-second clip of the CCJ saying the Constitution is supreme. Whether you like it or not, that is so, Leonard.
Yes, it is true. And Yoga, you could also find us on Kaiser Radio is on YouTube as well. Just go to enter Kaiser Radio and you see the YouTube page come up there and you could see us live there right now. The same way if you're on Facebook, the same thing basically. There's a message here. Good afternoon, gentlemen. Concerning the COVID-19, I would like to know your views on what happened yesterday. I honestly thought there was a limit to the number of persons gathered, and I thought there was something called social distancing that was supposed to be observed. While heading to Georgetown to collect my wife and driving along Lamaha Street, it was like there was a political rally going on. What was even funnier is that the police was there and not to disperse people, but to direct traffic. The one that takes the cake is that everyone gathered around Mr. Granger, who in turn was addressing them without a mask. How does this help in our fight against COVID-19? Anybody? Well, I think we did address this issue here. If the highest one in authority is not adhering to the rules and regulation which was set by his ministry, well, what do you expect the people to do? Maybe your thoughts, Yog?
Mm-hmm. Well, Leonard, I would want to put it in a little bit slightly facetious way to say the following. They see Mr. Granger last night or yesterday evening when he appeared in front of his group there. He only literally complied with what the CCJ did to him. The CCJ unmasked the PNC yesterday, unmasked them, disrobed them. The emperor is naked. And so he had no choice than to unmask himself and talk to people, Leonard. I mean, what else can we say? It's ridiculous how the rules must apply for one set of people and not for all.
Thank you very much. And this is something that makes you smile. Let me see. Hats off to you two cuties. Wow. I love the program. Keep it up. When Granger realized that what he's doing, it will be too late. He's destroying this country. Why can't he give up and move on? He wicked. That's coming. I'm not sure who's that coming from. Yog, this growing anger. People are not having anything good to say. They're not having anything good to say about our people here. Hi, good day. I've been listening to your program for 2 months about the election. I've known the chairman and family. I really think she is in this drama 100% from the beginning, so I have no confidence in her. And she come no one. The blind time will tell. It is frustrated. Not sure. I think we should hold the faith. The lady is very strong. She has a very strong background. She has not done anything except she says that she's gone according to the law, which is every time she was, I think the last time is that the court has handed down orders that they are not to move until the court is ruled. It's a Caribbean Court of Justice. So there's supposed to be a meeting as to how far she could go. Well, we have to see that. Good afternoon, gentlemen. I think if Judge Judy ruled this case, everything will be okay. She doesn't make jokes. And this is a funny one. Judge Judy is involved in this case now. Good afternoon, sir. I would like the APNU FC to go back to school. 33 greater than 32 and now 233, 336 greater than 217920. So it's 233,336 is less than 217,000 votes. They should hide the face. That is coming there. There's a caller line. Caller, good afternoon. You're on the air. Caller, good afternoon. You're on the air.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
I want to ask a question.
Sure. Could you lower the volume on your radio, please, quickly?
Can this nation sanction this government and all the cabal them that every day they got this country at hostage? Let each and every one of them pay $100,000 each to this nation?
You think they're worried? And they don't have the money to pay it?
They have the money to pay, so let them pay because people starving and people need money.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, dear ma'am. So let's go through some more messages here. Yog, maybe you want to comment on that in the meantime?
Yeah, I cannot help but disagree with the caller there. I mean, there needs to be something that this country must think about doing such politicians that holds everybody at ransom. They continue to enjoy their salary while people are starving for food. And, you know, while the number seems, Leonard, sometimes we laugh at the 100,000 and we laugh at the 10,000 and so forth. It's people don't have 5,000 while these people have their 100,000s and whatever, or 100 million. You know, so, I mean, one of the other thing that is extremely worrying that I would want to discuss tonight, Leonard, is this matter of national court. And people seem to have this impression that the CCJ is a foreign court. The CCJ is Guyanese court. It is in our constitution, it is in our laws, it is within our law that the CCJ is our final court. Let me tell you something, and people need to remember this. You know who was our final court before, Leonard? It was the Privy Council in Britain. Here it is, you have a CCJ where the judges are Caribbean people, people like us, people who have our culture, our background, our everything. These are not people that are so separate from us that even their livelihood and lifestyles are different. These are people of our own culture and background. And they formed the judges. Guyanese judges were part of the CCJ. So all of this talk, Mr. Granger said that, that they set aside the CCJ. Well, the CCJ has made decisions that has caused its decision to be questioned. And the court questioned it and threw it out. Full stop. The judges need to decide how they will carry themselves in terms of the future cases that comes to them. It does not go to say that they made a decision about the judges. They made a decision about the judgment. So I'm not going to say we criticize judges and we criticize courts and judgment will always be questioned by if there is another court, and they will either agree or disagree with the judgment. In this case and in the last couple of cases, they have disagreed. Leonard Granger needs to stop lying to people. Because when he talks the way he's talking, he's also telling half of this nation that he is controlling the local court and he has a final say and he could control things like a dictator. And that is not so. The judiciary is independent and is supposed to be very independent.
Yes, it is. And one of the persons watching us, Chandra Bridgewater, I think they're buying time for state of emergency. Do you think that's possible? I'm not sure. I don't know how to comment
Leonard,
on that.
I wish to say something on that because I was shocked to see this morning an APNU AFC representative, Mr. Let me see what's his name. I took a screenshot of it. Some Mr. Lorimore or so. I don't know if I got the name right. You know the name? An APNU AFC regional candidate. Some Mr. Lorimore. He said, if you check his Facebook page, he is saying that he is a man of God. And therefore, there is a time and season for everything. And he is basically calling an APNU AFC candidate that wants to represent the electorate of this country, that wants to represent the poor and the rich and the middle class and everybody in this country, has called on David Granger to initiate a state of emergency. This is the kind of thing that gets us in the backward state we're in. And that gentleman should be ashamed for making such a post, Leonard. He has basically said Guyanese, Afro-Guyanese have suffered tremendously under the PPP administration. And that's the reason why APNU AFC was elected to office. So this is the kind of nonsense being peddled. And this is the kind of thing we should probably go and seek court intervention on. This is the kind of racist and separatist talk that will get us nowhere, Leonard. This is political nonsense. This is a prime example of Kool-Aid.
Thank you very much for that, Yog. Thinking there's another caller online. Let's straight to the calls. Yes. Good afternoon, caller. You're on the air.
Good afternoon, my friend. I'm trying a lot of times to get through to your program, but I don't get a chance to speak on your program. I don't know if you blocked my number or because of my you.
No. It isn't that. There's one very simple explanation for that. The boys in the studio are to be blamed, not Yog and myself. But go ahead.
But am I on air? Or?
Yes, you are on air. Go right ahead.
All right. I had a talk with St. Peter's. You know who is St. Peter's?
Go ahead. You tell us.
All right. St. Peter's said that you see everything Mr. Granger is doing, he's doing it from what he's instructed to do by the same St. Peter's, right?
Mm-hmm.
You think you understand me?
Yes, go ahead.
But listen, Mr. Granger went through everything, and he's now waiting on the final word of GCOM. Not true?
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
So St. Peter asked the question to him, what you think will be the outcome of the election? And he said to St. Peter's that he is waiting on GCOM. The same St. Peter's he prayed to and asked for healing for the sickness he had, a long name. I can't remember the name. All right? So if Mr. Granger can say to St. Peter, who healed him, that he's waiting on GCOM, we have to wait on GCOM. You think you follow me?
Yes, go ahead.
All right. So I'm saying, let's give him a chance. Maybe he's right. Maybe he wants to do the right thing. But let's wait and see what is the outcome of the GCOM report to Mr. Granger, whether he would accept it or not. And whether St. Peter's, like he told me, what he's going to do after that. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much about that. And I think the caller is probably right on some points here. Says Gunraj, Commissioner Says Gunraj on his Facebook page just announced that the meeting for GCOM is set for 1 p.m. tomorrow. Yog, 1 p.m. tomorrow. 24 hours later, the meeting is set. What twist to the tale now, Yog?
Well, that unfortunately we have to wait for tomorrow to see. I would want to ask Mr. Gunraj whether there is a formal invitation has been issued and whether there is any evidence that all the commissioners have acknowledged receipt of the invitation, because we have to now do this. We have to ask whether invitation has been sent out to the commissioners, whether they have acknowledged receipt of these invitations, because you might very well find tomorrow people are going to say they haven't received a notice of meeting. I don't know.
But let's see what happened. I want to ask you something. I just saw a notice there that somebody posted about not sleeping this pandemic, and this whole elections has really taken a toll on the people. Yog, has it really taken a toll on you? You know what time I go to sleep in the morning? Maybe 2 o'clock. And I sleep about 4 or 5 hours, and then I'm back ready to go at it because, you have something to do. I guess it's my DNA. But this thing has really, really taken a toll on the people of Guyana. I think I hope to God that this is over as soon as possible so that the people could probably start healing. And I guess we still have to deal with COVID-19. How bad has this been on you, this entire waiting game, this COVID-19? Has it affected you in the way that it has
terrible.
affected you?
It's been terrible, Leonard. I mean, look, Guyanese have had to deal with the depression of having no jobs, no money. We have been going around the country giving out some, let me just use this opportunity quickly to say thanks to Devon and to Shabika and Stephanie and Carlton and Savitri and, Ashley and so forth. They have been going around on behalf of our teams, both you and I, to help people around. And Leonard, it's terrible to see what we are going through. And I want to also say thanks to people like Azar and Intiaz and Sister Jean and everybody else who has been giving us some monies to help with this process. The point is, though, to your question that, it's been terrible. we have had the depression of not being able to go out of our homes when you see the politicians still free to do what they want. We have had the depression of not having a source of income because all jobs are closed down. When we see that the politicians are happily stealing taxpayers' money to pay themselves their salaries. We have had a gross disrespect of a dictatorship being created in front of our eyes each day as we carry on. And Leonard, that's an amazing thing, isn't it?
I don't know what to say. I'm speechless here, you.
Hey, buddy.
Go ahead. I don't know what else to say, man. Good afternoon, guys. Which God it is that man serving that got to pay? No, let me don't read that. That doesn't sound good. Good afternoon, gentlemen. I think we should acknowledge Justice Rishi Prasad's ruling as COA and give him kudos for his judgment on the Eslin David case. There's another, Mr. Lorimer. No. That can't read that either. That could get us sued. I'm listening here to this rigging process from the beginning. What Granger is doing, it's total destruction to the APNU FC for themselves also. It must come to an end, and it would also be the end of them for a long time. Long live the PPPC. This is a nightmare that I'd be looking at, Yog. I don't wish the end for any political party. I think we lost Yog there for a moment. We don't wish for the end of any political party. We've said it and said it before. We want a very strong and vibrant opposition. It's always good for the democracy of the country. It's good for checks and balances of the administration that is in place. And so we want a responsible opposition that's going to be there, that when we call on them to comment on matters that pertains to the government, and there are always going to be issues that is going to be raised, things that might not be right that the government of the day is doing, and you need to call on the opposition to give their say, to comment on it, to maybe make some recommendations, go to parliament, maybe put down a motion or so. We need our politicians to be strong, to be vibrant, and so it is not something good when you make a recommendation for end to any political party. I mean, the good thing about it is that we have a number of very strong, charismatic leaders that has risen up through the fire for the elections 2020, and these are for the new parties. I've stopped using small parties. They're not small parties, new parties on the block, and we have some very, very strong, charismatic leaders. From very good thing. I'm looking towards 2025 Yoga, and we're going to see some interesting things that's likely to happen to the political landscape come 2025. If indeed that we're going to have elections, then let's hope to God that we go according to the laws and things are being done in keeping with the law, the Constitution of Guyana.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Leonard, just if I may quickly, so tonight, to remind everybody, we're going to have Mr. Anthony Astafan on our program, and guess what? He'll be joined by no other than Mr. Sanjeev Dattadin. So it will be two of our, good minds, best minds out there talking about the Constitution, talking about what's happening. And so we are set for an engaging night tonight with Mr. Astafan and Mr. Sanjeev Dattadin.
Yes, that should be interesting. Yog, this elections has been so much of a learning experience, at least for me, and see the power of the Constitution. One could very well say, yes, people are not adhering to it and so on, but it's really brought to the fore about people's rights, about the role of the courts, about the power of the votes. So many things have come out here over the last couple of weeks. It has been a lesson to the people of Guyana, and I think that has led to what I'd call the awakening of our people. And maybe these are conversations, lots of conversations that we should be having, bringing the experts on and let them put their 2 cents in. Everybody should have a little say in that. There's a caller line. Yes, good afternoon, caller, you're on the air. Good afternoon, caller, you're on the air.
Good afternoon, Gildarie. Good afternoon, yo.
Yes, good afternoon.
Freddie Kessoon, I know Freddie Kessoon, right? And Freddie Kessoon said it well the other night. He said that this team up against a team. This team is an old team with a PNC mentality up against a young team with a thundering lot of money. Freddie Kissoon and track. Now, it's easy for perception of people to sit and said, yes, let a particular badge go in. Like how he's angry and he got the right to be angry and express himself. But it is easy for Yog sit. Yog mentioned already on this program concerning the Kaicho paper that he's hefty independent. And there's a whole set of people who is not independent, and it is much easy for Yog sit and behave how we behave in and want the perception of people to go back in government. But it's not easy for people. I, as one of the Guyanese, had to leave this country at one time when it went through the crime spree because they didn't want me life go down foolishly. This place totally went out of order, and that is what people really scared about. And those who got a badge of the PNC mentality still rocking into power. But it's a fear, and Jorgen giving we no rule out in terms of who's going to be the next way out. Because let me tell you something about the thundering lot of money that Freddie speak about. There's a lot of people behind this thing for cheering. There's a lot of Guyanese, and I ain't going to use no particular race. There's a lot of Guyanese in this thing, sitting on a particular fence about their personal interest. They're sitting on a fence for things that are cheering. So it's easy for York speak in the farm that about it's easy for York bombasting the PNC people, but they got a perception of people that living under fear, and that perception of people a rollout plan, and the rollout plan, yes, we could say, well, we can hold it for this after the 100 days, but for now, it's a frightening situation. And upon you again, I don't want to pull too much into it, but you got to tell them do it like you. Just like how you didn't want them to, just like how you refused to hand over your computer and resign, tell them do it like the friend. That's my contribution.
I'm a little confused here, but I think Yog is very quite clear.
I didn't refuse.
What computer?
I didn't refuse. It is exactly what I did, by the way. I said, if there is something wrong below me, I will walk. But to his point, Leonard, the gentleman has made an excellent point that we need to be cognizant of the real perception, the perception versus reality of what people are upset or concerned about. Mm-hmm. And there are persons in this society that would have been experiencing or expressing their concerns about what a PPP government would do if they return to power. Mm-hmm. My response is as follows. If we do not do anything against the current government, we might as well say we are endorsing the current government doing the same thing that you and I hated about the last government. That's one. Two, if the last government was guilty of all the things that we have said, and including me, that we have criticized them for, why has this 5 years been used to take them to court and get not just local court, get the international court? If any government in this country has done ethnic cleansing or has done anything to say they were racially profiling people and getting rid of them, the United Nations, the international court, can be brought to bear, brought to play. The fact is, there has been a lot of perceptions built upon the backs of assumptions, and we need to weed it out. We need to sit together and talk as a people. We cannot allow a Granger or a Jagdeo to control our thinking. They can tell us what they want. We got to apply our brains and decide what is the truth. Let me say this to Leonard. There is a lot of talk. I'm seeing, look, Valda Lawrence said 500,000 people or 400,000 people were killed. How much people living in Guyana? Previous to 2014, there was a number of 400. I am willing, gentlemen, to that last caller, I am willing to invite Mr. Jagdeo or invite Mr. Nandlal on our room 592 and say, let us have a discussion about those 400 names. I am willing, and I'm sure I can call on them to come and have an open discussion and let you, the people, be the judge. But Leonard, what will it solve if our backs are made up that we are not going to allow anything to be explained? The Stabrook News, I can share the link. They published the 400 names, and you would see in it a lot of those names are people who were killed by criminals. Those names included the criminals themselves who shoot each other. So, okay, the PPP takes the blame because they were in government. What do we do as a people, sir? Do we then say, because they were wrong, Granger must rule for the rest of our lives and do all he can do? The other question you ask yourself, all the deaths that has happened from March 2nd to now for the lack of medical facility, for the lack of medical care, who is responsible for it? Who will take responsibility for all the deaths that happened in this country from 2015 to now? If we want a portion that everybody who died for the 23 years under PPP is Jagdeo's fault, well, it means everybody who died under PNC is Granger's fault. Are we willing to go down that road? It doesn't make sense. What has to happen is, as a people, we must have this conversation and have it openly. My decision has been, sir, is that when the PPP did wrong, I spoke out against it. I was one of the very few persons that came out on an open attack when those people in Linden were shot. I criticized it. Wrong is wrong. It doesn't matter who does it. Violence is not the way. I do not believe in violence. I do not believe that ever a violent solution is any good solution. And I will continue to oppose violence in any way. But as a people, sir, we cannot allow a corrupt government that is also responsible for the deaths of people, that has also been corrupt and stealing billions of dollars. And they are now passing transport and giving themselves duty-free after the elections. That is an impasse. We cannot now let those people say, okay, because Jagdeo was bad, we're going to give you the buy. Well, if Jagdeo was bad, he is not running for presidency.
Mm-hmm.
He is not the president. It is Irfan Ali. And I tell you what, whatever Kaicho News did, whatever people like me did in the past, there are more and more and more people that are standing up and speaking out. But the problem is, we got to stop looking at each other because of our race. We got to say we are backing each other for speaking out because of what has to be right for Guyana. It is not one set of people that died. It is not one set of people, but I can tell you, if you go talk to the Indian rights activists, they will tell you it was one set of people that were raped. And so everybody has their grouse. If you want, we got to go and assess what happened during the slow fire, mo fire thing. How many girls, how many women were raped? If you want, we got to have an open discussion, but we can't be blinded to what is only being peddled by one side. We got to be very open and we got to be pragmatic. My approach, sir, is that we must hold any government accountable. And that is what we have been doing. And sir, finally, it is because of the PPP not living up to the expectations of the people that they lost power. Nobody did a revolution and overthrow them. There was no violence to overthrow them. It is not just Afro-Guyanese that got rid of the PPP from office. It is Indo-Guyanese that voted against them as well. No one race in this country can put any government in power or remove any government from power. It takes a combination of people to do what they have to do. And that is an ideal. That is where we need to go. Let us vote, let us support based on conscience, and let us ensure that the judiciary remains independent and that the president must not interfere with the judiciary, must not interfere with GCOM the way he has been doing. This is the president in our history that has appointed unilaterally a chairman of GCOM. That is a great shame. What should Indo-Guyanese people say about that? They don't say anything because people are by and large ready to say, let's live and let's move on. So this perception, sir, has to stop. If you want, I am willing. You join me or send me in the name of anyone who want to join Leonard and me on room 592, and I will invite Mr. Nandalal or I'll invite Mr. Jagda to come talk about those 400 names. But it is nowhere near 400, if at all. But that is for you and the people to judge.
Thank you very much there, Dr. Yog Mahadeo. If you're now joining us here on Elections Watch COVID-19 on 99.1, 99.5 FM on Kaicho Radio. You could also get us on Kaicho Radio Facebook or YouTube. And what you need to know, the GCOM meeting that was supposed to be for today, 1:30, has been pushed back for 1 o'clock tomorrow. That is because three commissioners, Vincent Alexander, Charles Kirby, and Desmond Trotman, says they wanted some printed out copy, hard copies as we call them, of the CCJ ruling yesterday to study it, to see what kind of implication it has, so they could be better informed for the meeting. And that meeting has been scheduled for 1 p.m. tomorrow. And this evening, very quickly, Yog, as we move down to closing time for this program, as we run out of time, this evening, room 592, there's going to be a very important program. If you're looking at what the region, probably the region's take on the political situation of Guyana, legally and otherwise, it would be a place that you would want to be in room 592 this evening, 7:30. Dr. Yog Mahadeo, who's here with me as my co-host, he's going to be leading the charge on that. So you indicated, Yog, that Sanjeev Datta, an attorney at law, is going to be there too?
Yes, so we're going to have both Mr. Astafan and Mr. Sanjeev Datta in tonight. So it's going to be interesting because we certainly want to ask them to what limits GCOM could put us. Mm-hmm. So it will be an interesting night.
Yes, so we're going to be there with you at 7:30 p.m. sharp. And as usual, it has been a pleasure. I think maybe we could take a quick call or so. Quick call online. Yes, good afternoon, caller. You on the air?
Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Yes.
I'm enjoying your company. As I told you guys from March, I knew where this is going. I don't think it is finishing at GCOM right now. There's more twists to come. But my point is based on something the caller said, the last caller said, and something I said earlier in the week about the psychology of it. One of the things is that the Yog is right in his comments and his points, and many people, including the lawyers. But you see, we're dealing with constitutional law, electoral law, as opposed to something called tribal law. And the tribal law deals with what happened. Reality is what happened under the PPP happened. I am not an Afro-Guyanese. I can take care of myself very well, and I am fearful of a PPP government. That doesn't mean I don't want them in power if they win. I'm telling you my legitimate fears. Because when I'm at work for 12 hours, I am worried of what's going on by my house. When I'm there, I know nothing can happen. And that is a legitimate fear of many Guyanese. It's not that they're saying that the option was right or the option was wrong. The fact of the matter is, and if you listen to Mr. Jagyo talk, he got people's names. He know who did this and he know who did that. That is who Mr. Jagyo is and has always been. He always goes after people. The reality is all this fight has nothing to do with what the Caribbean Court of Justice or anything. It has to do with what the PPP will do when they go into power. And nobody can hold their feet to the fire. Kaiser New just published trouble thing, and they're going to kill some people. Not PPP, but under their government. Just like how everything that happened under Mr. Granger, Mr. Mr. Yoke says he is responsible. Well, everything that happened under Mr. Jagyo, he is responsible, and he is still a part of the PPP. And I'm telling you, as much as all of this is going on here is wrong, and the PPP did win, it is a legitimate fear that I have and a legitimate fear a lot of Guyanese have. Have a good day. I'm sorry to be so passionate.
Thank you very much. And Yog, before I hand it over to you very quickly as we wrap up, it is good conversation to have a different side of the equation. And these are the kind of healthy debates, arguments, points on the table that this country should be having. We mature people, or we should be mature people. And as we move this country forward, we want our people to come and start opening their mouths and not just sit in the back room behind a keyboard or on your phones or writing something behind a fake profile. Let's get that behind us. You have some powers, let's start doing it. It's different times now. This is not 2005, definitely not the 90s or the 80s. We're in a different time now. It's a time of technology. It's a time social media is here. People should be, and I would recommend that you should open your voice because it's a different time now. And everybody's watching. You quickly in your wrap up, any other thing that you want to say to the people of Guyana?
I just want to remind everybody, let's be calm. Let us remain extremely vigilant, and let's keep note that there are people who are trying to rile you up and continue to post things that might be vexatious. Do not be riled up. Do like what Leonard and I are doing here. We talk about it. We comment about it angrily, passionately sometimes, but we keep it within certain control. We keep it within certain degree of mannerisms, and let us just live and let live and allow others to be with their views while not allowing poisonous views to control us. And yes, we got to look at this matter of trust. Going to the future, Leonard, that is one of the things that we have to have discussions on, an open discussion. These two last callers have, he really hit the nail on the head.
Absolutely.
We got to look at how the population trusts a government and what they can do to engender and to build such trust and make it to even more trustworthy nature.
And you only have to look to the U.S. in closing, Yog. Thank you for that. You only have to look to the U.S. and other developed country as to the kind of conversation where they're having. Every move that a politician make, something that they would have done. I could remember, I think it was Obama, that they went and they started looking at his birth certificate to see whether he had a birth certificate for the U.S. and so on, and they went so far back. These are the kind of scrutiny that you're going to be there, and I think many leaders are very careful about this whole atmosphere as to what they want to craft with regards to the legacy. And that is something also we have to talk about. What kind of legacy do you as a leader want to leave for the people of Guyana? But so many things to talk about as we wind down. I want to say thank you very much for joining us. As usual, we run out of time when we get in the conversation is getting quite cozy. Elections watch, COVID-19 watch, and I want to say thank you very much to my co-host, Dr. Yog Mahadeo, myself, Leonard Gildarie. It's been a pleasure here. We're going to be with you at 7:30 p.m. with Miss Attorney at Law Sanjeev Datanan, as well as a legal luminary of the region at 7:30 p.m. sharp, room 592. In the meantime, stay safe, stay calm, and stay within the confines of your home if you have nothing else to do. From Kaicho Radio, Kaicho News, all management and staff, have a pleasant rest of the day until.
COVID-19 tips sponsored by Dexo. 1. Practice social distancing. 2. Wear your mask when leaving the house. 3. Wash your hands regularly for 20 seconds using our Dex soap. 4. Cover your nose and mouth with a disposable tissue or flex elbow when you cough or sneeze. Choose Dex soap for that extra cleanliness. Dex soap is affordable and available nationwide.
Radio.
Covering Guyana from coast to coast.
Demerara and Essequibo 99.1.